The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this or any broadcast belong solely to our guests or our hosts. These broadcasts do not represent or reflect the views of their employers, sponsors, or affiliated organizations.
Welcome to the Flipboard EDU podcast with your host, William Jeffrey, where we collaborate, communicate, and educate with the greatest educators in the world on Flipboard. Let's start the show.
Welcome back, Flipboard fam. This is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey. And Valle is not your traditional classroom teacher by trade, but her classroom on Clubhouse is one of the most innovative ideas I've seen on the platform. While most people use Clubhouse to try to sell or market themselves, Valle has been using it to teach emerging bilinguals to practice their English speaking skills. People from around the world tune in to Clubhouse and practice speaking and listening English in her classroom and then curate Flipboard magazines. Her rooms are trendy in countries that are hungry to learn English and to exercise it while speaking and listening. Bia is, however, an avid Flipboard user like myself, and she requires her students to create, curate, and share Flipboard magazines. What better way to collaborate with adults than to use Flipboard's curation tools? She masterfully conducts her classroom, even empowering several of her students to host Clubhouse rooms while she moderates them in the background. So like we always do about this time, let's collaborate, let's communicate, and educate with the best educators in the world right here on Flipboard EDU Podcast. Welcome back, Flipboard fam. This is your favorite coach, Jeffrey, and I have another amazing guest here today, Valle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Coach Jeffrey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I am so glad that you're here. Hey, tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself.
I'm Brazilian. I was born in Brasília, the capital of Brazil. My father inaugurated the first hotel in Brasília. It was a planned city. It has just turned 62 years old, by the way. My parents and my grandparents, they were really into education. My father studied at Boston University and came back to inaugurate the hotel and met my mother, who was in the new capital, Brasília, studying anthropology. So this is how they met. I went to an American school in Brasília, and also when I moved to São Paulo, this really made all the difference in my life. It was a super international global environment, and that really shaped who I am. I've been teaching for more than 20 years. I'm also an interpreter, an accompanying interpreter, always in the business segment. I teach executives, top executives from global companies. I prepare them for roadshows, presentations, job interviews. I think this is a little bit of me in a nutshell. In terms of interests and hobbies, I love traveling. I love photography. I love curating magazines. So this is a little bit of me in a nutshell.
Excellent, excellent. I know you from Flipboard. When we were doing the Flipboard chats on Twitter, you were curating for Brazil. And let's tell our listening audience a little bit about your experience with Flipboard.
My experience with Flipboard was like more of a love at first sight kind of experience. As a teacher, I have to be updated and on top of everything, especially teaching executives, business, and all that. So when Flipboard started, even before we were able to make magazines, I was going crazy with Flipboard. And when we were finally able to curate and collect articles, beautiful digital package, I went completely overboard, and I had like millions of magazines. I started curating magazines for students around their interests. And then yet I was approached by an employee from Flipboard, California, and I was offered a contract. Of course, I was tested and trained at this new profession. I didn't even know what content curation meant, formally speaking, even though I was curating magazines. And I stayed with them for 2 years and 5 months, 6 months almost. It was fantastic. I learned about content curation, editorial calendars, everything. Actually navigating information in the digital ecosystem, building a new career. And it was lovely. I also did social media for them, community on Twitter. So I built this lovely community. They're still there together and curating magazines. So I'm happy. I love Flipboard. I'm still a very consistent user, frequent user of the app. I think they do a great job, not only with the interface, but with all the publishers that they put together. The interface, of course, is beautiful. So I'm addicted to making magazines, but this is my story with Flipboard. I actually use Flipboard heavily as a resource and a tool in class and also out of class with my students, especially now on Clubhouse. But this is my story with Flipboard in terms of working there. Yeah, I did. I was lucky. I can't even believe that I got a job at that point with something completely new in the digital ecosystem, working remotely. It was all magic. I learned a lot.
Yeah. Hey, I love Flipboard too. I love it so much. I named the podcast after it. I don't, as an educator, I use it as well. And I use it in my classroom and with my students. And I think it's a great tool. But using it with your students, what really, I was like, I really got to get her on my show is because on Clubhouse, you are working with a group of students learning how to speak English. How did that start?
Wow. That was crazy. And thanks again, actually, for having me because I admire you. And since the beginning, I think it was 2 years ago when you started with the podcast, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
I'm not mistaken. But Clubhouse for me is like a mini MBA.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been used to teaching only top executives from specific niche business, top companies, Brazilian. And then suddenly I'm teaching people from more than 100 countries. All levels, all kinds of different backgrounds and also ages and everything. So for me, it's like a mini MBA, really.
Yeah.
These groups, teaching groups that have different cultural backgrounds and cross-generational, different levels. It really changes me to meet these individual abilities and profiles. It's just fantastic. And of course, what I'm doing is language. But in the end, I add like a layer of mentoring. Mm-hmm. I feel that we all have something to teach and that better than anybody as an academic and a principal and all that. But I feel specifically with this group on Flipboard, people from very remote areas of the globe, where I can really influence them in many aspects. So definitely I ended up getting this cultural exchange that happens naturally in our rooms and transforming it in many lateral moves. And one of them is I'm having students using Flipboard to curate about their country. So I have Sohi curating about Iran. I have Masafumi curating about Japan. I have Olena curating Ukraine. I have Deepa curating India. So it's really, we're really using Flipboard as a learning tool and collaborative, and it's fantastic, really. But Clubhouse actually is bringing me a whole new dimension of teaching English and teaching communication. So I'm very happy. I'm so happy that you popped in. Students were like, wow.
Come on, man.
Like, yes, I know.
No, I'm low on the totem pole. Let me tell you why I'm excited about what you're doing. Because during the pandemic, a lot of people were complaining about teaching on video. Here you are teaching on audio. So it's audio only. And you are instructing these mind frames to having these people who don't speak English well, but you don't know what country that they're from as they're engaging in your class. And then you guys are in there, you are directing like multiple different emergent language learners with ease. And so I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And this is another layer to teaching.
I think all educators and language instructors, like in my case, I don't really work at a school with kids. I work with adults. But I think that as educators, as teachers, and especially after the mobile revolution, our big challenge is to engage and to grab people's attention. So audio only is definitely a challenge. I think that more than ever, the student-centered approach has to happen. There's no way out. I have to be relevant. I have to be dynamic, and I have to use all the cognitive opportunities available in the class. We now have chat, so people will have short writing activities if it's really interesting. And I really believe that learning, I bring this from my personal experience at Graded, the American School of Sao Paulo. The social aspect, the social experience involved in the learning is very powerful. And of course, as a language instructor, I want to go beyond simply memorization of verb tenses and retaining words and all that, but I want them to relate to what I'm teaching. How can I put it? I want to allow them to transfer what they're learning to their context. Not only understand, but apply and build and polish and use it to solve their problems or to complete their own tasks. So I see myself wanting to be relevant, meaningful, adding value, and wanting to have an impact in these people's lives. So it's really, for me, Clubhouse has been a present as an educator, an MBA, as a cultural trainer, really it's a lab. I'm really helping them gain skills for they're mostly very young people. I think 50% are really young, like in their 20s. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm helping them gain the skills they will need for their professional life. And not only communication, but cultural and digital too, because of these movements that we make to social media. I have a podcast, so I'll direct them to the podcast. And magazines they're not all curating magazines, but most of them, I think most of them are on Flipboard reading and collecting articles. So I'm also helping them shape the way they use the internet, their digital citizenship. So we mix everything. It's digital citizenship, it's English class, it's verb review, it's media literacy. Yeah. Basically, I see myself like I saw my teachers at Graded, and it's not only delivering content, but it's actually teaching them how to learn. I hope that was a good answer. I've never been interviewed.
Hey, listen, we got a lot to unpack because again, I'm sitting in the room just amazed at all of the multifaceted cognitive opportunities that is presented to these people. And I think where we failed as teachers in America with the digital learning online that happened over the pandemic, it missed out on the cultural aspect. People were so quick to go over the content, but they didn't get a chance to understand students' cultures. And I think that's something that kind of takes a forefront in your classroom, but it's not on purpose, but it's intentional. And so I really appreciate that as I'm sitting, I'm learning, I'm listening to these people learn to speak English. And I only speak English only. And I'm like, man, I want to learn some of these other languages that you guys, I find it fascinating that you would get on Clubhouse and practice to speak another language and in front of different people you don't even know. I really am just amazed by it.
It's fantastic. The thing with the culture, actually, I see myself as a very lucky person because my dad did to me what his dad did to him, got me the best education that he could afford. Mm-hmm. So I got to go to this super duper school that really fostered love, curiosity. It really instilled, and this was many years ago, right? Let's not even get into details.
But really it wasn't that many years ago. You're not.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It stimulated us to think critically. It stimulated us to be contributors. There were debates. There were weeks where people would come with their local food because basically the students, especially at that time, the students were mainly kids of diplomats and diplomatic corps in Brazil.
Yeah.
And also international executives from big corporations. And some, of course, some Brazilians, like my father at the time, was really wow to send a kid to an American school. My mother was an anthropologist, kind of not pro sending me to an American school. And at that time, but my father insisted, and I was happy he did, because I grew up in a very international environment, really international. And not only, oh yes, I had some Americans, some Europeans. No, I really had people from all over the globe in that school. Wow. So I learned when I was a kid to develop this, not only awareness, but sensitivity and all that. So I can use it. I'm a cultural trainer at the school where I work. Mm-hmm. And now with Clubhouse, I decided to open a room every Friday just to do this cultural exchange systematically. Culture goes on all the time. You went into a room and you felt it. But on Fridays, we do it systematically. It's collaborative. It's beautiful. It's organic. Yes. Even though there's a little bit of guidance and all that and curation, but it's very organic and it's just unbelievable what they're doing. Some of them are posting pictures on Instagram. So we have this little move to Instagram, this cross media. I have to keep up, right?
Yes, you do.
In my 50s, if I don't keep up, if I'm not ahead, if I'm not on top of everything, I will not just keep teaching the level of executives that I teach and engage all sorts of people. I think keeping up with technology as an educator is my duty. Maybe that's why I go crazy with Flipboard, this Clubhouse.
Yeah, you are on the cutting edge. You're on the cutting edge of how it's done. But something else that I really like, and one of the reasons why I really stayed, was somebody got on being rude. And oh my God, you got them together so quick. Like, I loved it. I was like, oh yeah, if you was a teacher, I'd hire. If you was right here in Texas, you get hired today. Oh, I liked how you shut it down. So let's talk about how you manage your classroom, and why do you think it's important to let everybody feel welcome and to have a set of rules and boundaries?
Oh, definitely. This is the internet, right? So we all know that in the internet, there are all sorts of people. And just like in real life, there are good people, but there are also bad people. They're polite, but they're also rude and all that. Yeah. So this is one thing. And this is also about moderating social audio live. So I'm also learning. I have to confess that I've never taught such big groups. I teach private, maximum 3-4 people at the school where I've been working for the last 20 years. And these people are paying good money and they really want the class. Yeah. So they're the first ones to collaborate and it's lovely. But whenever I have 20 people, 30 people, there's always one or two that come up to the lounge and are not exactly polite. Mm-hmm. So I have to moderate. I have to set the example, and this is me actually. There is a lateral move that I did not mention when I introduced myself. I did work 5 years for Delta Airlines.
Oh, okay.
While I was teaching, and I was in security.
Okay.
So I learned this, fast profiling and kind of tough approach. Yes. To unruly people.
Yes.
Because I have to build a reputation, and this room is definitely not the room to pop in and play around.
Yes.
We're fast, we move people to the audience, and that's it. So what happens on the other hand is I have this community that feels really safe and protected, especially ladies.
Yes.
And I mean, it's 1 in a million that will play around. And if they do play, it's only once. They will not come back.
They will not come back. And you got them together so fast. I said, ooh, it was excellent.
Sorry.
It was excellent. No, it had to happen. It had to happen. And you didn't play around with that person. And so I appreciate that, especially when people cultivate a learning environment. Classroom management is important. And I love the way you manage your group. You also said you had a podcast. And if you can give me the name of your podcast, and let's talk about, what do you talk about on your podcast?
Oh, my podcast. My podcast team, it's called Verbs in a Nutshell. So I teach, basically it was grammar, verbs and conjugation, things like that. Exciting things like that.
Yeah.
And I started it on SoundCloud many years ago. I think 2014, maybe 2013. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit before that. Now I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Anchor. But it was funny because I was never thinking of having a podcast. As I told you, I'm also an interpreter.
Yes.
So I'm an accompany interpreter. That means I go around with people I interpret for, meetings, negotiations. Sometimes they have to travel. And I interpret to really, really interesting, intelligent academics. Very lucky, actually. I've been serving this company that brings academics to Brazil for at least 20 years.
Yes.
So I get to accompany very intelligent and nice people. And one of them is one of the academics that I really like and respect and who is very sweet to me and has always been very sweet to me. And I was interpreting for him. And during his break, I said, I'm going to serve you some coffee and I'll be outside so you can have some time alone. He said, no, come here and talk a little bit about yourself. So I was telling him about how I teach English and all that, and that I wanted to have a podcast. I was just thinking, and he said, record a podcast. And I said, yeah, I think I'm going to do it on SoundCloud. And he said, let me record some words for you. I said, I can't do this. You're famous, you're important, and I can't record your voice. It's going to be 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm not going to, miss this opportunity. So my first podcast is The Voices. It's men. So if you search for Valle, and then you search for Philip Kotler, he's a marketing guru. He's, I think, 91 now. He has launched his new book. And he gave me a piece of advice. So in the beginning, this was my podcast. And then right after that, I started with Verbs in a Nutshell. I was pushed by a generous client to do my podcast. And so then I brought my podcast to Clubhouse.
Yes.
This is where we are. Verbs in a Nutshell. My club is actually a podcast. That's the name of the club.
That's amazing. Gave me some great ideas, really and truly. And I'm thinking about how to start my podcast I think it's really good for engagement is to record it on Clubhouse. I think that's an avenue that I would be willing to branch out in. And I think that's great. Again, I think you're cutting edge. I think you're leading, and I really appreciate that. So I also have here that you really like coffee.
I love coffee.
Yeah.
I love coffee. I love being at home, even though I have these for zillions of people, and I teach people, and I train people, I interpret, and I go around being social and all that. I'm actually an introvert.
Oh. So
I love to be alone, quiet. I love to just read magazines and have my coffee and listen to music. So I'm a coffee lover. I definitely think that you should come to Clubhouse just because you have so much to share. And you will reach and inspire so many people with your beautiful career and love for education.
Thank you.
And I know you are into technology. I know that you are into bringing technology to the classroom to enhance the whole process.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from my experience, and I don't consider myself an educator, even though I know I touch lives and I influence people. We all do. But you will rock. You can actually mentor future teachers. You can mentor young students getting out of school and not sure of what to do. we can do things together. Please come and speak to me, and we can talk about.
Oh yeah, I need to
that.
go ahead. I do need to go ahead and just link
You
up.
see, this is a live invite. I'm sending you the contract now. No, but I'm not kidding. Actually, the traffic, I have to tell you that now I have reached 37,000 visits to my podcast.
Yeah.
And I know this number is not, especially when you have distribution and all that.
Yeah,
but
yours is bigger than mine. I don't get 37,000.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to promote yours because you deliver, your content is super structured and all. It's a different level. We can't even compare. But I have maybe bite-sized, just chunks of information, and I think you can do the same.
Yes.
Like a podcast where you not only interview but give chunks of information too.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's the format.
Yeah.
But what happens is I now have 118 anchors send us these fantastic analytics, right?
Analytics, yes.
I now have 118 countries visiting my podcast. And this is because of Clubhouse. Wow. Definitely.
Yeah,
the reach that Clubhouse has, the international reach that Clubhouse has for me is one of the strongest.
Yes, ma'am. And let me also state that not only am I a witness to this, is that I was trying to create a room on Clubhouse so that I can interview. And we couldn't even start the room because a lot of people who follow you, everywhere you go, they were popping into the room. You was like, this is not a private room. We need to make a private room. And that's great that you have that following. And so I'm just amazed. And it happens because that you're teaching and that you're giving out knowledge and nuggets of information and people feel comfortable with you. And so that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. So I'm just proud to know you. And I'm definitely looking forward to collaborating with you. Give me 1 week. I'm going to reach out to you. I promise.
Of course. You can just pop in. You can just say, hey, can I visit tomorrow? Are you going to be open? This is a little bar.
Yeah.
You can just, come on. You're more than ready. Yeah. I think that what we learn with social audio as teachers and educators is how to organize what we know into chunks, bite-sized chunks of information. So I've always been, of course, I teach English as a second language. It's different from teaching a subject like mathematics and history and all that. But I've always been into simplifying content because of the profile of students I have. They don't have time. They don't have patience. So I'm into practicing. I'm into actually learn by doing. So Clubhouse has been giving me like an opportunity, like a laboratory, to actually improve my teaching skills, to improve the way I simplify, the way I model. And of course, there are lots of physical patterns like repetition and all that. And I end up extending, sometimes opening conversations for the students to apply what they learn and to go deeper, maybe discuss something, maybe give their opinion on something, to create knowledge together. The collaborative approach of social audio live it's like a meeting, but with more facilitation, with more mediation, with a little bit more control. And it's unbelievable, really. I'm in love with Clubhouse, and I understand why it has been evaluated in such, good way and high numbers, because it really, it disrupted in a way social audio. I think lots of people try to do the same, Spotify and Amazon and Twitter and all that. Yeah. But Clubhouse really has this international reach, and now I think they're working on discoverability of content and all that. And being able to have dialogue with people. And if you're a good facilitator, a good moderator, you can really get a lot of content out of the sessions. So you should definitely try it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So this is about the end of our show. Where can our listening audience find you at on social media? Where can our listening audience find you at on social media?
Wow. Okay. First of all, on Flipboard, right? On our super app, I think Flipboard is definitely the app where I am most present. That's really where I concentrate. I now have, I think, 100,000 or a little bit more than 100,000 followers.
Wow.
I curate for students. I curate many subjects. I curate a magazine about cultural competencies and crafting presentations. So lots of things connected to education. I also am on Clubhouse. So if anybody wants to learn English or maybe connect to our super international community and just listen to all these accents from all over the world, that's where I am. Basically, that's where I spend my time nowadays, navigating Flipboard and Clubhouse. And of course, whenever I have some free time, I go around, take beautiful pictures. I use Instagram, and I have always used Instagram in an open way. That means my profile is open. I don't post anything private. And what happens to me on Instagram, and I use Instagram, I always curated my digital experience. I've always been very careful with who I follow and all that. So I have fantastic experience on Instagram, and I love it. I post pictures of Brazil, and I see the pictures of people from all over the world. So what my students are doing now, for example, Sohi, I think I've mentioned her, she curates a magazine about Iran on Flipboard. And it's very hard to find news about Iran, actually. So she is growing like crazy because really she is doing a great job. And she curates about Iran on Flipboard. She puts videos and pictures and all that.
Yes.
And she also has pictures of on her Instagram about Iran. So we do this cross media kind of playing around with change culture. Yeah. So basically, I'm everywhere answering you.
I love it. And I'm looking at your Instagram now. I love it. Your pictures are really nice. Hey, I got to get more creative. I got to start. You are inspiring me to be more creative and to just live out loud. I really like it. Thank you for coming on my show and talking with me. And I think we're just going to have to collaborate on some more activities after this.
I would love to. For me, it's an honor, actually. Really. Wow. Thank you so much. Come to Clubhouse. Let's talk on Clubhouse. And I was checking your magazine too today. I think definitely. Are you on Spotify too?
Yes, I am on every podcasting channel there is. I'm everywhere.
I love your show. Is this number 70?
This is number 71.
See?
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Yeah.
I'm your fan. Yeah. Not only me, and you know that. And you're such a sweetheart. Really. Thank you for having me. I feel honored. I know that you interview lots of people who shape education in such deep way. And so I feel really honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, most definitely.
I hope we can talk more and come to Clubhouse and share a little bit with us. Just pack some points and come and deliver and inspire. I'm sure you're going to inspire lots of people. Coach Jeffrey.
Most definitely. I appreciate it. All right. You have a good day. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for Flip Tips. Today's Flip Tip is brought to you by my homegirl, Terry Porter, from her blog on medium.com entitled Making Flipping Easy. There are certain controls in the iOS shared dialog box that I use with a lot of Flipboards. So I changed these settings on my iPad and iPhone to make flipping easy. Number one, I want Flipboard to be my primary app of choice for sharing. Those app icons in the shared dialog box are movable. Just press the icon, select, and move it. Number two, there are certain share options only available in Flipboard. These include Promote to Cover, which moves an image you flipped into your magazine to the cover of your magazine. And you can remove from your magazine, which gives you the ability to remove a flip. Shout out to my homegirl, Terry Porter, for that flip tip. Thanks, Terry. Flipboard fam, thanks for sticking with us on this episode. I would like to thank Valle for talking with us today about teaching English to emerging bilinguals on Clubhouse. Such a special episode. I'm telling you, if you get a chance, you need to dip in that Clubhouse room and just listen to them. Verbs in a Nutshell is her podcast. They're also found on Flipboard. I also want to thank Flipboard for having a great time at ISTE. Crystal Vanderboom, thank you for all of your help. Aileen Laylor. I also want to thank Marcy McHugh and Mike McHugh. And I also want to thank Valle for just making a great program of Flipboard for her students out in Brazil and across the world on Clubhouse. Go ahead and check out their languages room. It's a great place to be. Until next time, family.